So yeah, so earlier we were talking about living in an instant rice society, you know, um, and that sort of like shapes the way we think as individuals.
Sure.
It really shapes the way we sort of treat things, our attitudes, our behaviors, and we want things now.
Yeah.
So how do we get to a space where we focus on what we actually need versus what we want?
I think the first thing you have to identify is what the difference is. I think a lot of people can't tell the difference between what they need and what they want.
Yeah,
Okay, you need a belt to hold up your trousers.
yeah,
It doesn't have to be a LV belt. Not that there's anything wrong with an LV.
of course.
Do
Yeah,
your thing.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But my thing is that what do you really want, like compared to what you need, and say to yourself, okay, what I really want is a house. Let's say, for example. So what that means is that I'm going to have to live to what I need in order to provide the resources to buy what I really want. Now, what's stopping me from getting what I really want is the little things that I want, which is, the overspending. And a lot of the time, the thing that people spend most of their money on? Food.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Most of the time.
Yeah, yeah.
When I sit down and I do budgets with clients and say, look, where is your money going? And they say, I don't know where my money's going.
It's food,
I
man.
I don't go out that much. I don't do this. I say, let's sit down. It's food. I'm talking the weekly shopping. I'm talking the coffees in the morning and the breakfast in the morning. I'm talking lunch. We're talking dinner after work. Talking takeouts, weekends, dinners with the girls and guys, and brunch is a thing now. When we add all of this stuff up, these are the things that are stopping us getting from what we really want. But then we have to ask ourselves, do we really want it?
Yeah, no, do you know what? You said a lot of interesting things there. And like in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, there's a reason why we want things.
Yeah.
And I think a little bit of want is okay.
Yes.
Especially if it's within your means, so
Yeah.
to speak. So maybe you want a holiday, or maybe you want to go out with your friends or whatever it is. Because you need that time to just relax as human
Yeah,
beings. You know what I mean? But when it comes to needs, I think it comes down to understanding how human beings work.
Yeah.
We're not naturally disciplined as people, and we are run by sort of like automatic habits.
Yes.
So whatever habits we develop, we sort of want to pursue those things.
Yeah.
And those habits are sort of like developed or attracted through how it makes us feel as human beings. So when you need something, it doesn't feel attractive. It may feel attractive in terms of the ideal, but that may be a long-term strategy, that may be a long-term plan.
Yeah.
And it comes down, for me, to planning. Like, how do you plan your life, or how do you design your life accordingly to realize those needs, but sometimes cater to those wants? Because I think a little bit of want here and there is not too bad. Just not at the detriment of sort of preventing you from actually getting those needs. But I also think that you need to understand why you want those needs, or why those needs are needs, if that makes sense. I know it's looking a bit deep. So why do you actually want a house? Is it because you want that freedom to express yourself, because living in your parents' house is not enough? Or is it because you have this long-term legacy plan where you want to invest in other property and then use that as a vehicle to, I don't know, set up your children or whatever it is in the future?
And you mentioned a good point, as in why do you want it? I think that's really important, because, for example, I see a lot of people getting themselves into financial difficulty because they want a house. And they don't want a house because they want a house because they want somewhere to live and legacy. Yeah. They want a house because they want to be able to say, oh, mate, just bought something.
Yeah.
And they want to feel that superior to the next person, because they know not everyone's buying stuff.
Yeah.
And so they want to, no, just got something. They feel like they've made it.
Yeah.
What? No, just got, me, just bought something.
But isn't that a secret one?
Yeah. And
isn't that a secret one? Because let's say, for example, you are that person.
Yeah.
And you forced yourself to buy that house, even though it's punching above your weight.
Exactly.
Really, you want that feeling of someone saying, "Oh, you bought that house. Emmanuel's doing well, for himself, all that kind of stuff." So where do we fit in that? Like, how do we distract ourselves from falling into that trap?
I think it comes back to what you've been saying over the last few weeks. It's knowing yourself.
Yeah.
You see, if you don't know yourself, if I can't be happy in who I am, with the decisions I am and the decisions I make, no asset will ever make me happy.
It's true, yeah.
And the problem is that we'll keep chasing these things that we believe, once I get a holiday in the Maldives, it will never be enough.
Yeah.
Because you see, that happiness and that content needs to come from within. The assets you buy are just an expression of the lifestyle that you now are able to possess through the success that you were able to create. But you see, what happens is that we want the things that we believe to be successful. And again, it goes back to the social media influence telling us, look, well, people that are winning are doing this, and people that are winning have this. And if you're really smart, you would do your eyebrows like this, and you'd use this lipstick, and oh, what, you don't use this shade of makeup? You understand? So now these are the things that we level our success on, and so we keep craving these things because we believe that they'll get us closer to what will make us happy, not knowing that if we really want to make ourselves happy, we need to turn around, look at ourselves, and ask ourselves that question: how many times do we ask ourselves what makes us happy?
It's true, you know. That you went deep. You went very, very deep there. Nah, I love it because, you know, it started making me think about the economy. I know it's a bit random, but really the economy of a country, for whatever reason, determines the fate of the collective, so to speak. So if you're living in an economy that's very capitalist, you're going to increase competition. There's more room for advertising. There's more room for, you know, people sort of being exposed to things that they didn't even know that they needed, so to speak. And therefore, you're removing yourself from a position where you actually identify with yourself, because you're identifying yourself with objects and things and not really coming back to the base root of what defines your happiness. And you know, when we're thinking about happiness, I always say aim for happy moments as opposed to happiness as a complete thing. Because if you look at what happiness is, it's a mood. And moods change. Of course. It's part of an emotion. Energy in motion, as they say. So with that in mind, you have to bear in mind, what are the things that will serve short-term happiness, so to speak, and long-term happiness, whatever that looks like. Because if you haven't written that down, or if you don't have an idea of what that looks like, then you have to start defining that. You know, and I guess from a base roots level, you know, it's like what we were saying before. There's this guy called Abraham Maslow. You may have known of him before, but he talks about these hierarchy of needs. You know, and for me, if you aren't trying to aim to fulfill certain, you know, needs or whatever, it's hard to define what happy moments look like for you as an individual. It may not fit that model. It doesn't have to. You just need to know what it looks like for you. Yeah, and I think it comes back to when we talk about happiness, I think to myself, you know what, as a married man, we always talk about happy wife, happy life. There's that saying. But actually, if I really love my wife, I can't always make her happy. Because sometimes I might need to tell her truths that might cause her not to be happy. I might have to tell her things that may actually make her sad in the moment. But you see, if I want to make my wife happy all the time, according to happy wife, happy life, I'm going to have to start living a lie. I'm going to have to start not expressing myself. And how long can you keep that? How long can you keep that up? And then one day you're going to explode. And what happens? Divorce. Separation. Do you understand? So actually, do you know what I mean? Like you said, yes, I want to make my wife happy. And that is what we're talking about, moments. I want to give her as many happy moments as I can. But understand that between those moments may come times where things are not so happy, where things are not so easy and not so bubbly and laughter. And we have to accept that and understand that that's part of the course of life. Do you know, it's very important. It's interesting you say that, because part of those wants that we want are based on happiness, isn't it? But really and truly, you can't be one thing consistently, because at the end of the day, what is the point of life? You know, it may as well be androids or robots or whatever it is. Again, you know me, I'm always trying to throw in these little things, but there's something known as the hedonic treadmill, which basically states that a person's happiness, everyone has a base happiness. Sometimes you can go above that base, sometimes you can go below that base. But really and truly, you want to at least be, you know, midway, okay, like this, because that will determine the right level of mood that you have in your life. So wants probably spike you up, but then bring you down quickly, and it takes a long time for you to get back to that base happiness, because really and truly, you're not fulfilling needs. If you don't pay off your debts, or if you don't sort of like get the property that you need, or if you don't get the dream job or career that you're really aiming to get, you're always going to be chasing wants, because you haven't matured enough as a person to say, look, I need to start again. I need to focus on and people are scared to start again. They feel like it's the worst thing you can do. And I can see why. Obviously, when you're 18 to about 24, 25, there's wiggle room. You know, there's wiggle room. Do you know what I mean? You can sort of experiment with things, the whole Gary Vee mentality, When you get to 25, 32, there's still wiggle room, but it feels like there's no wiggle room because there's a certain pressure, okay?
Yes.
Whether that's social pressure in your mind or even financial pressure. When you get to 32 to let's say 40, the pressures are much higher. Kids, marriage, certain responsibilities that you need to bear, certain bills and payments that you need to make.
Sure.
So all of those wants that you made before don't necessarily serve the needs that you have now.
Come on.
And that's why you need to establish the right sort of mentality from the get-go. It doesn't mean you shouldn't have fun. It doesn't mean you shouldn't socialize. It doesn't mean you shouldn't go have Nando's or whatever it is. It just means do it according to the plan, or do it according to what makes sense, so it doesn't sort of like prevent you from doing things in the future.
Exactly. I always tell people, look, the things that I needed before I had kids, naturally I don't need anymore.
Yeah.
Because the resources are not there for me to even want them.
Yeah.
Do you understand? Things that were natural. When I sit down with my clients and tell them, look, you know, they want to go out and they say, I have to go to this place or do this. This is my thing. And I'm like, enjoy it now. Because you see, when you start to have children and stuff like that, unless your income goes up with that, but just time will take you away from these things anyway. And so things that are become so important to you right now become nothing when you start to have another life that you're responsible for. So enjoy it now. Definitely enjoy it now. But enjoy it to the point of what you said. Have a plan. Have a strategy. Work towards something whilst enjoying. Give yourself, look, I've got this amount of money. This is how much I'm going to use. I call it pay yourself. Pay yourself. We pay the tax man. You pay work. You pay your rent. Pay yourself. Make sure there's money left for you in the money that you earn.
So thinking about all of that stuff, and all very valid points there, how does someone define their needs?
Yes.
I have an idea, but I just want to see what you think as well.
I think for me, your needs are the needs are what we call basic. Your needs are the things that you cannot live without. And society, due to, like you said, being in a capitalist society, there are certain things that you must have as a standard. And so those are your needs. Your wants are the things that you need multiplied. So you might need to travel, but you don't have to drive a Mercedes to do that. You might need to eat, but you don't have to eat in Mayfair. Do you know what I mean? And so it's one of those things, is that your needs are the basic and your wants are the bits on top. I'm not saying the bits on top are bad, but we can't focus more on the things that we want than we do what we need. And we need to make sure that there's a balance between them.
Do you know what, you opened up dimensions in my mind. I was gonna say an answer, but then it changed. So in my mind, like now I think about it, wants are driven heavily by emotion, and it's that emotion that allows us to feel superior, strong, have the right level of attention, make us experience a certain thing in our mind. Needs are driven by survival, so to speak, and that survival can be in many different facets. That could be purely from a biological point of view, that can be from a financial point of view, just in terms of how do you survive as a human. But I think the one that we're missing is desire. And that desire is backed by having some sort of purpose, a chief aim, as Napoleon Hill would say. Because if you have that in mind, if you have that chief aim, then you can define what needs you want, or what your desire is saying you need, at least. Because do you necessarily need those things? Well, it depends on your perspective. Because it becomes a need if you believe that that is the reason why you're here as a human being. But if you don't see it as the reason, then it's a really strong want, so to speak. So I think when you throw desire into the mix, that's a different level of want, if that makes sense. Because it feels like it's being fueled from deep within, if that makes sense.
But I think, again, sometimes we allow our desires to then cross over to greed, to gluttony, to things like that. And I think to myself, like, sometimes we desire things that actually we know are bad for us, but we still desire them anyway.
So this desire that I'm talking about is purpose-driven desire.
Yeah, no, definitely.
But that's a good point. I didn't even think... See, I don't use desire like that. So it's interesting you said that. Gluttony, greed, and what else did you say?
I can't remember.
Oh, it doesn't even matter. We'll see it back on the tape anyway. That's an interesting point. Because I guess we'd have to look at the definition of what desire is. But I guess for me, in that sense, from a purpose-driven point of view, desire is a different dynamic. Because that's when you start digging deep. I'm just starting to think about this now. You kind of do that with wants anyway. It's a difficult one. I think it's the same emotion and it like used differently, so to speak. I have to think about that. Sorry, I've changed it up. Anyway, continue saying what you were saying.
No. So I think for me, I think we're coming to the end, but I think it's one of those things that, you know, it's very easy to go from a place of living on what I need.
Yeah.
When I can only afford to live on what I need.
Yeah.
And the problem then comes is when you now get more resources. Now all of a sudden, Lidl's is not good enough anymore.
Yeah.
Now we're in Waitrose. Now we're Ocado. Now do you understand? These are the places that we must shop. Before you got a haircut once a month. Now it's once a week. As you begin to get more resources, there's always ways for us to spend our money.
Yeah.
So what we have to do is have a baseline, and this is what we talk about: knowing yourself and knowing your purpose. Because once you have a place where you say, "This is all I need," no matter if I'm a million, whatever I'm making, this is what I need, and so this is my baseline, and so anything above my baseline, now that's a resource I can use to make me more income. I can use that resource for other stuff. The problem is that what happens is our need, our standard, as our income increase, so does our standards. And so that's why we will always, no matter how much more money you make, you always feel like it's never enough.
Yeah, I definitely hear that. And I think a lot of these learned behaviours are taught, you know, whether that's taught from parents, family, friends, media, whatever it is. But it comes down to knowing thyself, as you stated, and understanding what is important in terms of your life.
No, definitely. And I think once you get there, it will help. But I feel like need versus want is a core thing that we must learn as individuals. Because when we start to understand and focus more on what we need versus what we want, we can begin to sacrifice.
Yeah.
Because need versus want requires sacrifice.
Yes.
But you see, if you can have enough money to do something, but choose to sacrifice it for a bigger picture, then that's how we grow as a community.
It's true. And I think that's where we wrap it up, man. Seriously, because, unless you want to finish it off.
No, that's cool.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's where we wrap it up, man.
Thank you.
I think that was a good point to end that.
Yeah.